Hello there, rock stars. Matt Vanderbo here. Today, I wanted to take some time to talk about the importance of celebrating your victories and your successes, no matter where you are at in your journey to creating a career out of making music for TV shows. This is a long, arduous, and oftentimes winding and lonely path to be on. And so you really need to take a moment to celebrate all of the victories that you accumulate along the way. And what I really want you to understand is that there is no such thing as a small success in this business. Everything should be a major victory for you, regardless of how trivial it may seem later on. And I want you to treat everything like a major victory because that's what keeps you motivated and keeps you moving forward in this oftentimes depressing little game that we are playing. So I know that people watching this channel come from all walks of life, and you are all at various places in your trajectory of your career. But I want everyone to go back in time to when they were first starting. We all start at the same place. Like, we all start at zero. Unless you're me, then you probably start at -5, because I had zero knowledge of anything in this industry. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know how to turn on Pro Tools. That's how little knowledge I had. So I was probably at -5. But the first victory that you are going to achieve in this world is simply making your first piece of music all by yourself. And that seems tiny and insignificant and trivial to a lot of people, I'm sure, now. But think back to when you actually did it. Like, how big of a deal was that? I know for me, it was monumental. I'd spent probably, 5 to 10 years making music in recording studios where all the engineering and all the mastering and all the production was done by other people. I didn't know how to do any of this stuff.
I wrote checks and they did it for me.
And when I decided to take this leap into TV composition, I was confronted with the dreadful prospect of having to learn how to do everything on my own. And like I said, I didn't even know how to turn on Pro Tools. I didn't know
anything about anything.
So when I made my first piece of music, I was just absolutely ecstatic. I must have sent that damn MP3 out to dozens of people, and probably with a message like,
"Yeah, I'm gonna be a music composer for TV shows. No big deal, but here's a listen to what I'm doing."
They must have been like,
"What is wrong with this guy?"
Don't quit your day job, Matt. The music was garbage. In fact, I'm gonna play it. It's probably playing in the background of this video right now, so you can hear how bad it was. But that didn't matter to me at the time, because the fact of the matter was, it was music that I had made 100% all on my own. I did the writing, I did the production, I did the mixing, and I did the mastering. I mean, if you can call any of that mixing and mastering and production. But nonetheless, I did it all, and I had never done it all on my own up until that point. So that was a big, big deal for me, and it should be for you too. Now, I'm assuming that most of you are beyond that stage. All right, so now the thing I need to tell you is that as we move through our career, we are going to constantly be trying to kick field goals or score touchdowns, whatever, pick your analogy, but we're trying to get the ball through the uprights, okay? Here's the uprights, you gotta get the ball through it. But those uprights are constantly going to be moving with each successive success that you achieve. So you knock one thing down, and now, well, here's a different set of uprights way back here. So you make your own music, and then the next step in the path is, well, if you're using a service like Taxi, which I'm gonna do a whole video on Taxi one of these days, but if you are using Taxi, then the next hurdle that you have to overcome is getting your music forwarded by the screeners, meaning the screeners thought that the music was of good enough quality and suitable enough for the person who was looking for that particular music. And then if they thought it hit all the criteria, they would send it along to a music library. And getting a forward is
massive,
because gosh, how many times do you get rejected? For me, it happened 68 times in a row from when I joined Taxi to when I got my forward. 68 rejections in a row. Can you just take a moment and play your little teeny tiny sorrowful violin and, raise a glass to my pity party here. 68 rejections in a row before I finally got a forward. That was a complete blast to my ego. But nonetheless, what it really did was made me appreciate the magnitude of that forward when I finally got it. And I remember right where I was. I remember where I was sitting, what I was doing. I remember everything about opening that email and finding out that my music was forwarded. And I was like, holy crap, it's happening. It's really happening. And in the psychological and communication world, which I still adjunct and do a little moonlighting as a communication professor, but there's a concept that I teach my students called flashbulb memories. And a flashbulb memory is something that is so profound in your life that you remember every single thing about that situation. Some examples of a flashbulb memory would be like September 11th, 2001. I still remember where I was at when I got the news that New York City was being attacked. If you're old enough, then another one would be when JFK was shot. And there's other much more current examples as well. Typically, they're kind of always packaged in tragedy, unfortunately. For us, as composers, we're not going to focus on the tragedy. We are only going to focus on the happy successes. But I still remember where I was when I got my first forward. That flashbulb memory is never going to leave me. So you will accumulate some forwards through Taxi, and then your next big milestone is when a library actually reaches out to you and says, hey, I want to add that music to my catalog. Now this is when things are really taken off, because not only was your music produced by you, good enough by you, but good enough for a music library. This again, it's major. These are not small successes. These are big deals. Nonetheless, just because a music library accepts your music into their catalog does not mean that you are making any money at all. So the next step is getting your first placement. Okay, and then so goalpost constantly moving here. Your first placement is the next milestone. And just because you land that first placement doesn't mean you're going to see instant money. So now you have to wait a while to get your royalty checks, and that's your next success threshold. And then you start getting royalty checks that are, maybe they're only $100. And so you celebrate those checks when you get them, and then you start looking forward to the time when you get 4-figure royalty checks. And then you get those for a while and you say, come on, bigger and better, baby, bigger and better. And then you get your first 5-figure royalty check. These are all massive moments in your career. From the moment you write your first piece of music all by yourself, all the way to when you get your first 5-figure royalty check. And then when you start hitting 6 figures a year, these are all equally important. Sure, we like to look at the grandiosity of making a 6-figure income, but that happens over the course of time. And for me, the happiest moments that I've had in this business are all those initial milestones I had at the very beginning of the journey. So I just want you to understand that all of these moments are hugely important in your career, and you need to treat them as such and celebrate them. Every single time something good happens for you, celebrate it, okay? Because it is worth celebrating. I don't want anyone to think always long term. You could get into this business and say, well, I want to make a full-time career out of writing music for TV shows. Okay, great. That's the goalpost that's way back here. But what about hitting these first? Okay, so that's what we got to focus on, and celebrate it when you do it. Take your family out to pizza, or just go get some ice cream. Do something to just appreciate and revel in the moment that you achieve something bigger and better than last time. And also, I want you to understand that there is nothing like the first time for anything. Like your first piece of music that you made, you'll never experience that again. The first time a music library signs your music, you'll never experience that thrill again. It's kind of like kissing a girl. Like, you could kiss the same girl 1,000,000 times over the course of your life, and none of those kisses will be anything like the first one. The first one's always the best, okay? And you never get the first again. Well, unless you get divorced. But for music, we never get a second chance at recapturing the first time. So enjoy it when it happens. Celebrate your success. This is what will keep you motivated as you go down that path towards a full-time income or just making enough money to be able to take your family on a vacation to Disneyland. So please, please, please celebrate all your successes as they are happening because they are big deals. No matter how small they may seem later on, they are big deals right now. So let me end on another fun joke. What's a sea monster's favorite snack?
Dun, dun, dun.
Chips and dip. All right, rock stars, toodles.